guys, it's Christina Lane from Dessert for Two. One of the things that you might not know about me is that I am a huge chili head. I love chilies any way I can get them, especially Hatch Green Chiles. One of the reasons I was so excited to move back to Texas is because every year in the fall they do a huge Hatch Green Chili Fest. This year I bought 5 pounds and I put them in the freezer. Let me show you my favorite thing to make with them. This is a Hatch Green Chile Chicken Stew. I think you're gonna love it. It doesn't have any cream in it. It just relies on the starchiness of potatoes and corn and a lot of chilies. So the first thing you need to do is turn your burner on to about medium high. We're gonna let this heat up and then we're gonna add a tablespoon of neutral oil. When I say neutral oil, I mean anything like canola, sunflower, safflower oil, anything that doesn't really have a flavor. You just don't wanna use olive oil. It can compete with the other flavors. We need half of an onion or 1 whole small onion. So just dice this up. Yeah, you can hear that sizzle. You want to give this a stir. Let it hang out there and let the onion start to sweat down a little bit. Then we need 3 cloves of garlic. That kind of sounds like a lot for soup for two, but I really think the garlic is great here. You can always scale back if you don't love garlic like I do. I really don't want to add the garlic until the onions are almost done cooking. And you'll know they're done when they sweat a little bit and they start to get brown around the edges. You just never want to cook garlic as long as you cook onions for. So they need way less time in the pan, like a minute compared to like 5 minutes for the onion. Smells amazing already. All we have are onions and garlic going, but it smells so good. Okay, the next thing we need to add is 3 cups of chicken broth. Ooh, little cilantro came with it. It's okay, we need that later. You can do homemade chicken broth, this is store-bought, whatever you have. Okay, this is the base for your soup. Like I said, we're not adding any cream to this. So this is a chicken broth base. Next, we're gonna add our salt and pepper. We need half a teaspoon of salt. This is always just to taste. I want you to taste your soup at the end before you serve and make sure it has enough salt for you. We need 3/4 of a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. That is a lot. That gives this soup a lot of flavor. Pepper's got that spice to it. It plays off so well with the kind of green verdant flavor of the Hatch chilies. Keep grinding. 3/4 of a teaspoon. There's half. And there's my 1/4. Perfect. The next thing I want to do is to peel 1 russet potato. This is a very large one. It's about 8 ounces. We're gonna peel it and chop it into bite-sized pieces. The potato starch is what gives the soup a little bit of a creamy texture. I like to cut potatoes into circles and then chop them down from there. You want slightly smaller than bite-sized pieces. These are gonna melt a little bit in the soup, so perfect shapes don't matter so much. Now it's time to add our Hatch Green Chiles. If you've never had them, they have a smoky flavor from being fire roasted, but they also have this green kind of fresh flavor. It's almost hard to describe, but once you have one, you will know and love it. I buy the hot ones. It's totally up to you. You can buy mild ones too. You can also use the ones in the can, guys. You don't have to do the fresh ones. We're gonna bring this up to a simmer and then we're gonna nestle a chicken breast right in the center. Let me go get my chicken. Okay, now it's time to add my chicken. This is 1 chicken breast. The soup makes just enough for 2 to 3 bowls, so that's really all we need. And when our soup is simmering, just nestle the chicken in the middle of the pot. The chicken needs 12 to 15 minutes to cook all the way through. You can check on it if you like. When it's done, I want you to bring it out and let it cool, and we're gonna shred it. Our chicken is done. I'm gonna use a fork and pull it out. And I'm gonna let it rest on the cutting board for a few minutes just to cool. before we shred it. In the meantime, you want to stir in a half a cup of corn. This is frozen corn. Give that a stir. The corn will cook all the way through. Okay, the easiest way to shred chicken is with 2 forks, especially if it's hot. So you want to just go against the grain. You can see the grain goes this way, so you want to pull against that. And just go slowly and shred. Okay, I've shredded all of my chicken, and I pulled out a piece for my dogs, of course. I'm going to add it back to the pot. At this point, you can turn the heat off. The soup is still pretty warm. And I have a few garnish ideas before we ladle into our bowls. I wish you could smell the soup. We do have a couple garnishes to add. I love cilantro on top. I understand it's a polarizing ingredient, but if you love it, add a big handful on top of each bowl. I like to give it a chop first. Something else I like to add to this soup, just to tame the heat a little bit, is lime juice. I like to serve each bowl with 1 wedge. So let's ladle it up. Lots of chicken and corn and potatoes. And I love the smoky broth. I love a lot of cilantro on mine. And 1 lime wedge. I'm just going to squeeze it over the top. And then I like to nestle it in the broth. Let's give this a taste. I have a dog begging at my feet for chicken. This is so warm and cozy. This is such a great soup to make in the fall or winter to keep you warm. You can really taste the smoky flavors from those fire roasted chilies. The potatoes melt a little bit and make the soup ever so slightly creamy. The corn, the sweetness from the corn is just needed here to balance out the spice, and the chicken is so tender. I hope you make my recipe for green chili chicken stew. For the full recipe, visit dessertfor2.com.